No, we'll talk about it. We'll finish with that.
I thought it might have been like these.
No, 40 questions. So it's 40 multiple choice, one essay. We'll finish up with the essay and just kind of fly through this stuff real quick. Just remember your biomes. If you want me to write anything down on the board for my folks at home, if I say something too fast, you want me to write it on the board, just let me know. But you can see that shared screen. You should be able to. And once again, like I said, if you want me to write something down, just let me know. So we'll talk about biomes. What biome would you find plants that are adapted to low water?
Desert.
Rock and roll.
Okay.
Okay. What are the two most important things for judging what a biome is? Like what?
Rainfall and average temperature or climate.
Average temperature, precipitation. Okay. All right, I have some charts that show you the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle is a little bit more complicated than what I drew on the board yesterday, so make sure you understand that. If you do the cycles activity from yesterday, it'll really help you with these cycles questions and help you to understand things. If you don't understand anything, research a little bit about what it is and come back to it. So I have a question about pretty much it shows you a big chart of the nitrogen cycle and asks you what's happening in one or two of the spots. It's pretty straightforward to understand. Any questions on nitrogen cycle? Because you have bacteria that actually do both things. We talked about yesterday, we talked about nitrogen fixing bacteria, but you also have bacteria that are going to return nitrogen to the air. And you have bacteria that are what they call nitrifying, which would be taking bacteria or taking nitrogen out of dead organisms or feces and putting it back into like fertilizer, that type of stuff. Yesterday we watched The Martian in chemistry class because that's what we're doing at lunch. And if you haven't seen that movie, check it out. A lot of good science in it. Yeah. And one of the ways he was able to grow potatoes was, yeah, he got his well, actually got everybody poop and mix it all up and put some water in it.
Did you say there was it like 100 some birthdays?
Something like that. I don't remember. Don't spoil it for me. I'm watching it again.
Oh, you
right. So we talked a lot about terrestrial biomes, and you did the assignment on terrestrial biomes. Definitely look up and look at your notes about aquatic biomes and the different types of aquatic biomes there are. What's the difference between freshwater and marine?
Salt.
Yeah, which one's salt?
Marine.
Yeah. Rock and roll. All right. What is primary productivity?
Can you repeat the question again?
What is primary productivity?
Is it the plants and they give the 90%, or they can give up to like 10% energy?
Don't worry about a percent. It's plants.
As the main source of energy at the bottom of the chain.
Exactly. It's plants starting the energy process. Plants taking solar energy and turning it into chemical energy. Chemical energy in the form of, glucose. Okay. So primary productivity is how much energy your ecosystem can produce from plants. How much energy you're taking from sunlight to make energy. So where would you expect to find the most primary productivity in the world on land? Tropical rainforest. Okay. Where would you expect to find the least? The desert, or a special type of desert? What's that biome?
Tundra.
Tundra. Very good. Okay. And just like we already mentioned, the biomes is temperature and precipitation are the big two. So That's the same question. Difference between biotic and abiotic? Which is which? Rock and roll. Give me an example of how you affect something, how you, a biotic factor, would affect an abiotic factor. What's something that you do, being a biotic component of the ecosystem, that would directly affect an abiotic component? Be more specific.
Breathing out CO2 so that plants can breathe.
Breathing out, you just stop breathing out carbon dioxide. You add carbon dioxide to the air. That is a biotic component affecting an abiotic component. Okay, give me an example of an abiotic component affecting you. Say it loud.
Sorry.
Somebody whispered it. I mean, you can flip around what he just said. We are able to stay alive because oxygen is in the air. Oxygen, an abiotic component affecting us, a biotic component. So just make sure you understand those relationships and the verbiage that gets used when you talk about that stuff. So when I drove to school this morning, my car ran on burning fossil fuels, gas. What abiotic component was likely to change due to me driving to school? Oxygen. Well, yeah, I changed oxygen. What did I do to oxygen? Used it. Yeah, you used oxygen enough to make me not be able to breathe? No. So we're not really worried about combustion using up oxygen on Earth. What we might be worried about a little bit is something I heard people whispering: carbon dioxide being added into the air. Okay, so releasing that carbon dioxide into the air. A lot of things about the carbon cycle. Carbon cycle probably, to me, is one of the most important cycles. That's why we put those things up on the board yesterday. So make sure you understand kind of the different steps and different things, different places carbon can be in the ecosystem. What does that button do? No, that's not what I want to do. Don't do it. This is taking 30 seconds. No, stop. Oh wow, download a PDF. No, that's not what I wanted you to do. Sorry about that, guys.
What do the Vietnam speak? Like, what's their language?
Vietnamese.
Okay, yeah. They don't speak Vietnam.
I'll have to look at what that answer is. I have to know. That's kind of a tough one. Oh well. What did we talk about last week? You guys weren't here, but one of the things we talked about with biomes a whole lot with my group that I did have was the limiting factor in tropical rainforests. First off, what's limiting factor?
A what?
What is a limiting factor?
Sunlight to the ends of the ground.
Something that you can run out of that you don't want to run out of, that kind of controls your life. And you're right, sunlight to plants on the ground is sort of a limiting factor, but you still have, it doesn't affect your primary productivity because you still have the big plants in there.
Yeah.
There's a better limiting factor for tropical rainforests.
So it's washed away.
Isn't it soil?
It's what in the soil?
It's the lack of nutrients, right?
Yeah,
It's washed away every week.
absolutely. How did that change to that? I don't like that. Yeah, soil nutrients is because you're getting the maximum amount of primary productivity, and so the nutrients in the soil are getting all used up. If you clear cut a rainforest and try to grow crops, it's hard to do because it's very nutrient poor soil.
There's so much stuff there.
So there's these things called climatographs. Let's bring one of those up so you know what they look like. Actually, I'll do it this way. Thank you for bearing with me. And sure, this is like somebody's worksheet. I don't even know what in the world. But yeah, these are climatographs. They show you the average precipitation and the average temperature. And so which is which? I believe the temperature is, yeah, I think, yeah. I'm pretty sure temperature is the red line, and so the bars are precipitation, temperature is the line. Yeah. So for this is British Columbia, where you have the line that shows you that seasonal change and a very low average precipitation. This is, well, they're both British Columbia. This is probably more tundra, because the temperature never really gets above 25 degrees Celsius, which is about, or 22 degrees Celsius, which is about 72, 73. And then you get down to about 0 in the wintertime. Then you have this area here where you get a whole lot more rainfall, less seasonal rain, but the rainfall is seasonal as well. So just know what a climatograph is showing you, temperature and rainfall. What would you expect a tropical rainforest to look like? What would you expect the temperature line to do on a tropical rainforest?
Stay pretty similar.
And then the precipitation line? Also be pretty straightforward, but also both of them will be pretty high. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we talked about aquatic biomes a little bit. You have, where would you go to find, where would you find intertidal zones? Intertidal zones.
Maybe with the sound or something.
On the right track. Next to what? Sort of, but it's between the ocean and the what? Well, and the land. Okay, the sound is there. The sound is kind of unique to North Carolina. You know, so there are, because barrier islands are pretty unique to North Carolina. They're in other places too, but we're not going to have a question about sounds most likely. We're having a question about the intertidal zone, which is the area of the ocean next to the coastline. Go in deeper than that. If you go into the coastline, that's where you get to the estuary. Okay. And you have things like coral reefs, open ocean, things like that. Rock and roll. I got about 3 questions in a row that deal with kind of a chart food web. It's a chart that shows you who eats who and things like that. I feel like that's pretty straightforward. Just make sure you understand the words. Competition means what? Good job there. Go ahead. For they're trying to win a race. Resources, things that keep them alive. So whether it be living space, food, mates, you know, anything like that, trying to get the same resources. Now, what is predation? Predation. The wolf would like you to think that predation is sharing resources. If something is a predator, what is it doing?
Oh, eating.
Yeah, predation is when one organism eats another organism. That's predation. Okay, and I don't have it up here, but parasitism.
That's when like one person. Parasitism is when one organism benefits and the other one is not.
Very good. What's the difference between parasitism and predation? Which one?
Oh, wait, you have to keep your host alive.
Very good. Parasitism doesn't necessarily want to kill the host, whereas predation usually does kill the host to get something. A lot of questions. Like I said, I got 3 questions about that chart. I feel like it's pretty easy. Understand what eats producers?
Consumers.
Give me one more word. If you're a consumer that eats a producer, you're the first consumer. Better word would be primary. So producers, primary consumers. So the rabbit eats the grass. The fox eats the rabbit, so it's a secondary consumer. And then the eagle catches and eats the baby fox. Tertiary consumers. Yeah. Why doesn't anything eat the eagle? Because at each level, you lose energy. All right. What do decomposers do? Yeah. Recycle nutrients. What's the difference between gross primary productivity and net productivity? Do we understand the difference between the words gross and net?
Net is like all time, right? And then gross is gross when starts taking out. Gross is the total, and then like net is what you actually have.
Very good. So gross productivity would be all the energy plants are producing. Net productivity would be all the energy plants are producing minus the energy that consumers are consuming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. We talked about this yesterday, and I told you wrong, and I corrected myself. You have the rule of 10, except for light energy to chemical energy in plants, which is about what percent? Solar energy reaching Earth, plants turning into chemical energy. 1%. Every other step is 10%. Or 90% loss is the way we were thinking about it.
So but if we eat a plant, we get like 21% of sun energy.
We get 0.1% of the solar energy, yes, of efficiency, because you lose energy at each step. So I got a couple math questions that deal with that. If a plant makes, so go back to my example with the grass, the rabbit, and the fox. If the plant made 10,000 kilocalories of energy, the rabbit ate the plant, how much energy is available to the fox?
0.0.
Slow down. 10,000 kilocalories of energy for the grass. The rabbit ate the grass. The fox ate the rabbit. How many calories of energy?
Isn't it 2,500 or something like that? Because it's half of 10,000 and then half of 5,000, because it goes down by half every time.
Not half, it's 10%. So you're right, 1%, which what's 1% of 10,000? 100. Hey, you speak loud. Okay? So if you had 10,000 calories, the rabbit ate the grass, the rabbit's got 1,000. The fox ate the rabbit, the fox has 100. You lose a 0 to go down 10%.
Yeah.
You got me? All right. That question too easy. I ain't saying anything about it. Where do you find most fresh water on Earth? I asked this yesterday. Ice caps and glaciers. We talked a little bit about percolation and infiltration yesterday. What do humans do that stops groundwater infiltration? That stops water from being taken into the ground? Drilling for oil, you can damage groundwater, but what do humans do that prevent the water ever getting in the ground? Man-made streams, maybe a little bit, but there's something bigger that we do. We find an empty piece of land, and what do we want to do to it? What do you say? farm it. I mean, yeah, that's nice, but that doesn't affect the groundwater. What? It's like a meme thing where you're in the country and you see an empty piece of land. It's like you got to build a Dollar General, right? You never seen that before? Yeah. But yeah, building asphalt, concrete buildings, water's now not going into the ground there. And so you're completely affecting the infiltration of water on the ground by building concrete structures and asphalt structures and buildings. Because especially in cities where you really reduce groundwater, you actually lose, it's subsiding. Yeah. All right, rolling on. I got a couple questions that just show a hydrologic cycle and ask you what stage is happening and what. Yeah, that's too easy. What do you call it when plants sweat? Transpiration. Water leaving plants and going to there is transpiration. I got a couple questions about showing you carbon dioxide concentration over time. This is environmental science class. What do you expect that chart to be doing? Carbon dioxide concentration in the air over time? Increasing quite a bit. The numbers I actually have on the test are from 58 to 92, and so not quite as crazy as 92 to 2020. But when you see a chart like that, you always see the chart go like this. Oh, that's not what I want to be doing. Where's the thing? You always see the chart going like this. Why does it go up and down and up and down and up and down if I'm showing you carbon dioxide concentrations?
Because they see that there's a problem, so they fix it.
Nope.
No?
Good try. I'll give you a hint. Each one of those up and downs is a year.
Earth Day. Every Earth Day.
No, so you're just thinking about humans. Throw humans out. The carbon dioxide concentration looked like this before humans were doing anything. What changes as far as carbon dioxide being released into the air on a seasonal way?
Could it be like during certain times of the year, all the leaves fall off trees, and they take in less O2? So it goes
Not that they're taking in less O2, but they are taking in less
sunlight.
carbon dioxide, CO2. They put out, yeah. So this is the seasonal change in the trees. You have huge populations of deciduous forests where during the wintertime, those guys aren't removing carbon dioxide, and so you get a spike in carbon dioxide. When in the summertime they are, and it goes back down. So that's why you get that seasonal change. All right, and then you're right, why it's going up in general is due to humans and increase in CO2 release because of humans. I got a couple questions about zones when it comes close to like the intertidal zone where you have where the water gets deeper. Pretty straightforward questions, I think. If you want to if you're in the water and you want to go to a place with the greatest biodiversity, I already mentioned the coral reefs, but that's not on this question. Would you want to go into deep ocean or close to the shore? Close to the shore because you have more surface for those photosynthetic organisms to grow, and you can get more biodiversity with that. Flip side of that is if you have an ecosystem with very low light and high pressure. Where are you in the ocean if you have very low light and high pressure? That's at the bottom, absolutely. All right, rocking and rolling. Already asked a question about that. What do you call the things that are doing most of the primary productivity in the ocean? There's a better name, and seaweed is more microscopic. Seaweed are macroscopic things. These are microscopic. Add one little prefix to that. So there's two different types of plankton. Not cyto, phyto. Phytoplankton are plankton that is going to be producing primary producers. They're going to be producing glucose, zooplankton, or little microscopic dudes that eat the plant phytoplankton. Okay, which one's plankton from SpongeBob?
He's the first one.
Why?
Cider, because
Phyto. Why?
he's green.
That's the reason why he'd be green, but you could also make an argument that he's zooplankton. Why?
What?
Zooplankton.
Show at the bottom here.
Because what does he want to do?
Kill the crab. Kill Mr. Crab.
He doesn't want to kill Mr. Crab.
Secret formula.
He wants to steal the secret formula and eat something which is zooplankton will want to do. So you can make the argument for both. Make sense?
If he wants to eat, he just wants to sell it.
I think he might eat. I don't know. Do some research on
I
that.
could go for a traffic tag right now.
Right. What is it called? What is this? What is the dude's restaurant called? Chum Bucket.
Yeah.
We do. Make sure what goes into and what goes out of photosynthesis. Talk about that a bunch. Keep it rolling. We talked about why you don't have quaternary consumers and quintary consumers, because you can only have so many levels because you lose energy at each level. Where would you go in the world to find the largest area of temperate deciduous forest? Yeah, where would you go on Earth? Very good. Where are we? Less specific. North America, United States. United States has the largest temperate deciduous forest in the world. Okay. Where would you go? I think, no, never mind. We already talked about transpiration. Where would you go on Earth to find the greatest natural biodiversity? Specifically? Amazon rainforest, absolutely. Where would you go in North Carolina? We talked about this last week face to face, but see if you guys can get it.
I'd go to mountains. I'd go
Nope.
to Halifax.
Where in Halifax?
I don't know. That's for the big animals, right?
Where would you go in North Carolina to find the greatest biodiversity? And you don't have to give me a town or a county. You would go find a blank. No, less specific. Not a mountain. You said mountain. No. Ocean. No. Ocean not really in North Carolina. I mean, you make an argument there. Swamp. Go to the Great Dismal Swamp. Go to Lake Mattamuskeet. You'll find the greatest.
Once you get past the Roanoke,
Greatest diversity in North Carolina. All right. North Carolina has great agricultural production because we have the coastal plain, we have lots of nutrients in the soil, and it's also kind of like a floodplain. That's kind of a question that refers to that. It's pretty easy, I think. If I show you a chemical formula and it's balanced, what's another way to say that it's balanced? This is taking it back to chemistry class just a little bit. What law have you satisfied when you balance a chemical equation?
I really don't know.
I need to take some better chemistry class. Who's your chemistry teacher in here? When you balance a chemical equation, you're making sure that we didn't make or create or destroy atoms.
Like the law of conservation.
Of
Matter.
matter. Law of conservation of matter. All right, and that's our multiple choice questions. Let's talk about this essay. So the essay has to do with forest fires. There's a piece of legislation you probably need to look up if you want to really nail the essay. It's called the Healthy Fires Initiative. I think that's what it says. The Healthy Forest. Shoot. Healthy Fires would be a better name for it. Well, because there are healthy fires. Healthy Forest Initiative. It was assigned in 2004 or 3, 2003. The Healthy Forest Initiative of 2003. It was in response to record-breaking wildfires in the early 2000s. You need to be able to definitely understand what this program is doing, what they were trying to do to combat these fires, and be able to present that with your essay tomorrow. Same thing as always with the essays. Answer the question. Okay, I have 4 parts on this essay. Identify 2. Give me 2. Okay, explain 2. Identify 2. The second part says describe 1 positive and 1 negative. Give me 1 positive, give me 1 negative. Describe it. Don't just say it saves babies. Say it saves babies because it puts a shield over their head that protects them from shrapnel. Okay? So 1 positive, 1 negative. Third part, describe 2. So give me 2 things that happen, describe it. And then the fourth part is identify a specific thing and explain something about it. So this is really, do a little bit of research on this, and then use your knowledge of how biomes work, use your knowledge of how ecosystems flourish and how trophic levels work and how primary productivity work. Because when you're burning down a forest, what level of the productivity pyramid are you burning down? The bottom, the primary producers. And so that affects everything because you're knocking out that bottom. Okay? Questions? Any questions from my Zoom? I'm gonna say let's use our book. That way we're really I'm letting you do something. That way you don't have to, you know, because I mean, hey, I'm not gonna be Crostini in you, and especially my folks at home. And so I think me giving you that and saying use your book is a way to really make this meaningful for it and kind of learn as you're getting things rather than just Googling answers. So bring your book to class tomorrow. Folks at home, dig out your book. Maybe. I doubt it. Google the Healthy Forest Initiative. Research the Healthy Forest Initiative before you take the test. Yep. Any others? Questions on anything else we're doing? Leaf collections, APIDs, questions on the APID essay. I strongly encourage you to look at that APID essay before next Tuesday because it is different. It is dealing with numbers, and you really need to look at it and think about it beforehand and ask any questions before next Tuesday about it. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna roll on and make sure you go get your leaves. If you have any questions about leaves or want to do a leaf visit at my house, just shoot me an email or let me know in class. This is Wednesday, so you got Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, and Monday. I mean, I get the weekend obviously, but I probably won't be home on the weekend. But I'll be available those 3 days in the afternoon. If anybody wants to meet, I can be at home at 4 o'clock, and I'll be glad to walk you around the yard, and I can get just about everything on the list except for bald cypress and sycamore.
There's a willow tree at the end of my road. I feel like the leaves are ready to break off.
I'm shutting down the Zoom, guys. Have a great day.
It really looks like it's just gonna dissolve in like